What's good, family? Smash the like button and subscribe. So, your boy, Eddie Hearn and Team AJ have responded to Frank Fish Eyes Warren and Bob 100-year-old Aram and their recent negative Nelly comments. What I'm going to do before we go into Eddie Hearn's response, so you might have a full circular view of the information, let me give you what Bob Aram has actually specifically said. So Bob Aram yesterday hopped on the hater train. Bob Aram yesterday started sipping the haterade and has said the following. Aram believes he could turn the Wilder fight mediation into negotiations. In quotes. A switch to negotiation with Wilder from mediation is possible. Aram added, if I had to bet whether the Tyson Fury versus AJ fight would happen or not, I would say no. As far as I can see, this whole thing with Eddie Hearn is just a mirage. Eddie is desperate. He has one more fight with AJ and he wants it to be against Fury. But if a fight against Tyson is delayed to the winter, then AJ has to fight Alexander Usyk. And that's not a big fight. Eddie is a desperado here. Wow. Bob Aram putting in little digs there as well. Eddie Hearn has now obviously since responded to those claims. And he has said the following. Here we go. Check this one. Bob is trying to put pressure on me. That's how he works. He will think it's a bit slow now. Give an interview thinking it will speed up the Middle East. We don't need to play that game. Everybody's on board. Let's just go through the process correctly. Time is of the essence, and if we got into a situation where the site agreement wasn't signed in less than a week, we would have to start looking at things. But no one has a plan B, which is a good sign. Bob may talk about Tyson fighting Wilder, but he ain't going to fight Wilder. It's a nothing fight. We don't have any plans. Normally I have an A, B, C and D plan, but it's all about this fight and it will happen. We had a situation where all parties signed a contract, he said. We went out and got a fantastic site deal and both fighters agreed to the financials, the site deal, everything. Now what is taking longer than expected is we're back and forth just finalising the long form site agreement. It's frustrating because you look on social media and read comments like, what's the hold up? You're a joke. It's not a case of that. It's not a case of that'll do, just sign it. You've got Fury's people, which is a team of about 50 million people. You've got the site, you've got the broadcasters around it. It's a massive deal. But we will get there. I won't stop until we get it over the line. If it falls through, it won't be any fault of ours, and I don't think it will. It's just too big. Both guys want it too much. Just got to keep pushing and pushing. Also, to add insult to injury, I've been getting no help from the other side. I'm a one-man army going out trying to make this fight. That said, I still won't give in, and I know I'm going to do it. I could have given up 100 times on this fight already, and it would have just fallen away to the wayside, because there is no one else pushing it. I feel like all the pressure is on me to make this fight, and I want that, because that's how I know I will make this fight. There you go then. Eddie Hearn speaks on Bob the Hater Aram's comments. Now, I've just put a video out. Fish Eyes has basically said, we're going to give it until the weekend. We're going to give it until Sunday. I'm just glad. I just pray we're getting to the end of this now, one way or the other. Couldn't care less which way, if the truth be known. Really couldn't. I never thought this fight would happen, and therefore, I didn't get my hopes up. Maybe if throughout these last 5 months there had been a bit of positivity from Fury's camp, maybe I'd be a bit sad now. But because they never convinced me they wanted it, I don't make a scrap of difference to me whatsoever. But more specifically to the allegations made here, Aram's saying, as you heard, Aram's saying, oh, Eddie's desperate and we may turn the Wilder mediation into a negotiation. Again, in terms of people thinking this fight's going to happen, Eddie's basically saying, well, Aram's only saying that to play games. No, these men ain't playing games, in my opinion. You don't say we may drag Wilder in there just for the sake of it. And again, in its own right, that single statement isn't a big deal, but what do we know? When you've had Tyson Fury himself 4 weeks ago saying exactly the same thing, is that a coincidence? There's been way too many coincidences, way too many of Fury's team saying the same things. That either it's a massive coincidence or they've had behind closed doors conversations with each other, which, by the way, would make sense, wouldn't it? It would make sense for Team Fury to have conversations with each other. And that's why we're hearing the same talking points. For the last 5 months, the Fury team talking points have been, it can't happen, C19, the environment. Every single one of them saying the same thing. Then, like clockwork, they all came out and said, oh, it's going to happen. Oh, we really want this fight. When the press and when the media started getting on them saying, why are you being so negative? Then suddenly it changed. Now, we're hearing Wilder. Yeah, let's drag Wilder up there. Now, people could argue, well, YB, maybe that's just the obvious route to go. Is it obvious? Because Fury himself was saying, I'm never going to fight Wilder again. Don't make no sense to me. So yeah, Hearn's saying Bob Arum's just gassing the place up. I'm not so sure. Maybe I'll be wrong. But I'm not so sure. Based on the information we keep getting. And also, Hearns just said, well, let's give it another week. Nah, man, not another week. No way. Because another week turns into, well, it's only Thursday. Let's give it to the week. No, not doing that. Sunday. That's what they should do. I don't care. I'm sure there's people out there who'll be mad, but I don't care no more. Sunday. That's the end of it for me. Sunday. That's it. Not, because you know what happens, yeah? Give it another week. Then Thursday next week, they say, oh, well, it's Thursday, let's give it to Sunday. No. And then before you know it's Sunday, and, oh, well, you know what I'm saying? Oh, well, now it's only March 7th, let's give it to the end of the month. No, not doing that. We're not doing that no more. I'm tired of it. This fight ain't going nowhere. And Eddie Hearn saying, well, it's a massive fight. No fight takes this long. I don't care how many broadcasters there are. It's still a fight, isn't it? I don't get that. No matter how, a big fight's a big fight. It's not like it's the first big fight ever to be done. This is taking ridiculously long. Think of all the big fights we've had in the past. And yes, this fight is bigger, but a fight's still a fight. The size of a fight doesn't really make much difference, really. I can't think of... Once you're at the pay-per-view level, once you're at the multi-million pay-per-view level, I'm not understanding what's really changing. Obviously, I'm not an insider. Obviously, I haven't got business experience running million number pay-per-views, but I'm thinking practically, once you get to the million pay-per-view level, what starts magically changing then? I don't get it. In my mind, it's all the same, and that's basically what Tyson Fury's team are saying. They're saying that, well, if we haven't locked it in by now, something's not right. And initially, I thought they were talking rubbish, which they may well be, but the more I think about it now, it is taking long, and it's long for nothing. What are we, if they're struggling or waiting, for what? Oh, well, Eddie Hearn just said, oh, well, we're waiting to get the site. We're going back and forth with a long-form contract for the site. That's a little suspect to me. Because the site, they're the people who are putting the money up. Or they're the people who are putting the big money up. And what do we know about the site? That same site has refused to honour a 2-fight contract. They only wanted 1 fight. They said, no, we don't want to book this in for 2 fights, which tells me they ain't got the money, or they don't want to put the money up, just in case the first fight bombs, or whatever. For whatever reason, no site wanted to put up a 2-fight deal. And now, even with the reduced number of fights, they're still taking long. And Frank Warren said that we haven't received a binding contract from Eddie Hearn yet, obviously, because it's not all locked in yet. But either way, man, I don't know. Messy. Hella messy. And I'm not, personally speaking, yes, this was Eddie Hearn's response, but I'm not convinced by it. It don't look convincing. Because for Eddie Hearn to say, oh, let's give it another week. Oh, man. And I'm not even involved in it. And I do feel sorry, I can't lie to you, I do feel sorry for Eddie. Not sorry for him, because he's worth 100 million, but I feel sorry for him in as much as from a business point of view, he hasn't had any help. At all. All their man have done have sat there and stayed hating. And I do feel that either way, even if the fight doesn't happen, they should have really humbled themselves and been quiet and said nothing. And just sat there. Because coming out and just being negative Nelly, I don't know what benefit that was ever going to add. But again, that's why I don't believe they want the fight from the jump. From the jump, it never made no sense to me. Bearing in mind this was the biggest fight of their lives too, you'd think, with all that potential money coming in their pocket, you'd think they'd have been a bit more positive and a bit more lubricatory, wouldn't you? Instead, they've just basically been a brick wall from the jump. But anyway, before I go, I want to pick up on one of the things Eddie Hearn said. He basically said that me and AJ, we're only looking at this fight. We don't have any A, B, C or D options. And the same can be said for the other side. Well, I'm afraid to break it to you, Eddie, that's not the same. Team Fury have been looking at other fights for months. And Wilder has been on the list, obviously, for obvious reasons, because of the litigation. Now, Eddie Hearn says, well, it don't matter about Wilder because it's a nothing fight. And yes, is it a nothing fight relative to the AJ fight? Yes, but what do we know about Fury? Fury isn't AJ. Yeah? When AJ fights, he fights the next best one in line. Fury, look at his career. Fury's used to fighting one good fight and then fighting 2 or 3 bums in between. That's Fury's career for you. If you don't like it, suck it up, go onto BoxRec and have a look yourself. I'm calling a spade a spade. I can't remember the last stiff that AJ fought. Show me the last time AJ fought someone who was no good, or show me the last time AJ fought a filler fight. Even on 2 weeks' notice when he fought when he fought Andy Ruiz. AJ showed how much of a star Andy Ruiz was. Basically, AJ ended up fighting the bona fide number 3 in the division. Facts. On late notice as well. That's what AJ does. Fury on full camps. He's fighting Wallin and some Necton. AJ's sparring partners from 10 years ago. So when Eddie Hearn's talking from the position that he and AJ sit in, oh well, there's no way the Wilder fight's going to happen because that's a nothing fight. Yeah, it would be to you and AJ. That's like you fighting Ruiz again right now instead of fighting Fury. It don't make no sense. But you're not thinking in the right mind. This Fury is the man who will fight Wilder and then go from that level of fight to fighting Wallin. Not even Wallin, but Schwartz or whatever bums there were in there. Whole bag of bums. So when you look at that from that perspective, yeah, Fury turning down AJ to fight Wilder ain't a bad look from his perspective. When my man's used to fighting Schwartz. Trust me, Fury's team are gassed off this. Well, you know, that's a pretty damn good fight, is what they're thinking. And I can't even blame them, because they're used to fighting non-pay-per-views. At least dropping AJ and fighting Wilder will still but it's still breaking to the pay-per-view level. Anyway, listen. Fisheye says Sunday. I hope he sticks by that, because I'm over this. Over it. And I'm glad. It's so funny. Again, I hate to rub it into you, man, but there was a bagger man telling the YB he needs to apologise for being wrong. You man are looking sad. You man are sick right now. You man are... In fact, tell you what you man need to do. You man need to hop in the comments and apologise to the YB. Because this is the thing, when you're not 190 IQ, you just ain't seeing the things I'm seeing. Clear, well, obviously you ain't, because you man thought it was on, innit? I told you it went, and YB mate, you need to. What happened to that? You man are sick. In fact, you man are missing right now, 100%.